Essa aqui é a terceira e última parte do primeiro ato da história aí de Fontaine. Se você não viu a primeira e a segunda parte, vou estar deixando aí no card pra você dar lá uma assistida, depois voltar aqui. Mas pra resumir, pelo menos o que aconteceu no último episódio, teve lá o show de mágica do Linney. Foi tudo tranquilo e pá, do nada no final, pá, aconteceu uma tragédia. O cara que tava dentro de uma apresentação ali de troca de caixas foi de F. E agora a gente tá fazendo a investigação. A gente parou ali mais ou menos na parte de investigar o túnel. Então é isso. Deixa o like, se inscreva no canal e vambora. Vamos lá. Mais investigações.
Speaking of which, why would there be water here?
Um adereço?
Oh, Paimon knows. It's one of those tricks where you pour water into a jug and then flip the jug over only for the water to disappear? And here's a broken vase. Huh. Did the trolley knock it down while moving?
Será? Talvez não.
That can't be. The trolley moves along tracks from start to finish. It couldn't have hit the vase at this distance.
Let's note this down too and think about it later.
Meu Deus do céu, velho. Toda vez que eu olho pra Taylor Swift, eu fico mais apaixonado por essa personagem. Que visual lindo, cara, na moral.
Gado demais!
What's this?
Looks like a hook tied to the end of a rope. Huh? There's all kinds of odds and ends here.
Perhaps it was a prop for a different trick. But why would it have been left here?
Whatever it is, let's make a note of it first.
Esse deve ser o dispositivo de controle pro carrinho. Ele deve ser capaz de operar automaticamente. Observar a escada. Uma escada necessária para retornar a caixa mágica acima.
Oh, these are the clothes that the lady chosen from the audience was wearing, right?
Her
clothes are here, but she's nowhere to be found.
Right. And do you really need to do that if you're kidnapping them?
Ué, por que os óculos ficam assim agora?
Ugh, this is so confusing. Paimon doesn't want to be a detective anymore.
Tá uma sombra aqui. Alta precisão é necessária para concluir o show. E trilhos são perfeitos para fazer o carrinho continuar a andar em seu caminho. Todos os tipos de adereços e trajes estão enfiados dentro de um jeito muito bagunçado. O carrinho é crucial para transportar a caixa. Ok. E tem isso aqui. Será que a pessoa sequestrada
What is this place?
saiu por aqui?
It seems someone could fit through here.
Could this have been the suspect's escape route?
Alone, perhaps. But if they had to pull another person with them, the space would be too narrow.
But there are no other ways in or out of here.
Além daqueles que passam pelas caixas.
Oh, you're right. Let Paimon write that down.
É nessas horas que a Yan faz falta. Ela é advogada, né?
State of the crime scene. Let's find a place to sort out our findings once Malus returns. Seems to me that there are several things that don't add up here.
Apologies for the wait, demoiselle.
Aqui, agora sim. Tá faltando duas coisas aqui. Duas no túnel. E acho que só.
So, what did the guards say? Did the criminal escape through the vent?
They believe the odds of that are very low, since the vent leads to the Opera House's basement. The guards have checked the area carefully. No one left through the basement during the performance or after the incident, and no one was found hiding there.
So the tunnels become like a secret chamber then. You know, like the kind you usually see in novels.
The plot thickens.
O caldo
His
engrossou.
disappearance and Cowell's death are both quite inexplicable.
Deu pra notar uma leve diferençazinha na... Quer dizer, uma leve melhora nas legendas. Será que eles trouxeram alguém do Honkai Star Royal pra cá?
No wonder FURINA was so confident in her accusation. All the current evidence points toward Linny and Lynette.
In other words, the charges are very likely to be upheld unless we make some considerable progress.
Charges and then trial. So if the charges are upheld, they'll announce a sentence?
That's right. This is how a trial goes in the Opera House. During the proceedings, the Chief Justice and the oratrice will hear statements from both sides. That's right. This is how indemnitium is produced. The statements from both sides, the defenses from attorneys, witness testimonies, and even the audience's emotions will all be projected on the oratrice.
Literalmente tudo é projetado dentro da máquina de julgamento.
To put it simply, it's as if the oratrice has its own will and is a judge in its own right.
This also precludes any kind of favoritism on the part of the Chief Justice. And not that this has ever happened anyway.
Once both sides have finished speaking, the Chief Justice will make his final decision. This, too, will be used by the oratrice as a reference. Then, finally, the oratrice will be consulted by officials. The result it returns is the will of justice itself.
Huh? So that machine is the one that actually decides? Paimon thought Neverlet called the shots.
In practice, there is very little difference. Both have always come to the same judgment. Which is why people have great faith in the Chief Justice. Ah, yes, the guards also asked me to convey that none of us will be allowed to leave this place.
Huh? Why?
Because we've chosen to act as the twins' proxies. That makes us persons related to the case.
They're concerned that we might be colluding with outside parties, or that we might find outside help to disrupt the case. And even if that were not so, it could prove problematic if we happen to spread key information about the case ahead of time.
I'm ready to break out at any time.
Eu tô pronto pra fugir a qualquer momento.
Whoa, there's no need for that. Paimon thinks they have a point. That said, are they providing food?
Of course. I just hope you don't mind the lack of options. I'm afraid that catering to all tastes is not in the cards, nor is any guarantee of balanced nutrition.
In that case, let's just sort out our findings together here. Pity. I was hoping to take you to try some of Fontaine's famous desserts, too. I mean, what better way to properly think through our findings than over some tea and sweets?
Huh. Breaking out suddenly doesn't seem like such a bad idea after all. Just kidding. Paimon will still
Tá,
do
isso
her
foi
best,
engraçado.
even if there are no snacks.
What do you mean, no snacks? Of course we'll have snacks. If we cannot buy some, then we'll simply make some.
Huh? Here? But how?
Understood, demoiselle. Everyone, please come with me.
Do nada, uma conversa sobre comidinha.
Wait.
Essa cena aqui é basicamente a conversa aí com a Návia sobre que uma moça com aparência tão requintada e não sei o que fazendo doce, pá, e a puxação de saco, e, enfim, eu não tô a fim de deixar isso não. Vamos pular isso, vai, por favor. Começa o julgamento, por favor.
Down to business. As Paimon mentioned previously, the tunnel seems to be something of a secret chamber. However, we can assume that Linny and Lynette were not alone within it. Some criminal also occupied its sealed confines. The magician twins could have committed the crimes, of course, but they lack any logical motive.
Exactly! Why would they do such a thing right when everyone was watching?
Então, fora os gêmeos, temos a pessoa que sumiu e os dois caras que morreram.
The flower vase and the thud we heard during the performance could indicate some altercation between Halsey and the criminal in the tunnel.
Então é daí que veio aquele barulho lá na apresentação. Pode ter quebrado. Teve uma luta ali entre eles e acabou que deu isso aí.
Resulting in the shattering of the vase, the discarding of her clothes, and her abduction. Perhaps the criminal thought that since she was chosen from the crowd, she would be too easy to identify if she was still wearing the same clothes.
Paimon thinks that makes sense, but the real trouble is...
Não existem provas de que essa terceira pessoa existe.
True. None of the clues we found thus far support the existence of this third person. But the only people left to consider are both technically victims. Whether it's the missing girl, Halsey, or poor Cowell.
Huh. Could Halsey have secretly made modifications to the magic props in order to murder Cowell before making her escape?
Mas será que ela sabia como é que o coisa funcionava direito?
That's right. And even if she had tampered with the setup, she would need to understand the entire trick to pull it off.
É justamente isso.
Nor does she have any motive. The guards said that she has never had any dealings with the magic troop's members.
Were we not thorough enough in our search? From the sound of things, this is turning into an impossible case. Your macarons are amazing though, Navia. They smell great! They're nice and crisp and super sweet!
They are my specialty after all. And I see you've already had 5 of them.
What? 5? Oh, that can't be right! Paimon only counted 3, honest!
Só contei
Please
3.
don't worry about it. At my age, a few less sweets might actually be a good thing.
No! Being greedy is one thing, but Paimon knows how to count. Besides, Paimon knows that if she ate too many, then others wouldn't have enough.
Tá bom, se você comeu, é.
Even you don't believe Paimon? How could you? If Paimon ate those 2 extra macarons, then may they turn into stone in her stomach!
All right, we get it. Well, I suppose one of us might have gotten too engrossed in our chat and eaten them by mistake. Nope, Malus, set up the stove again if you would.
Huh? What are you doing?
Making sure everyone gets 3 macarons, of course.
Ué.
Exactly. We don't want to trouble you.
As you wish, demoiselle.
And I have the egg, sugar, and almonds.
Esse cara parece tudo robótico, velho, hein?
Well,
Principalmente
it's
aquele
really
do
your
óculos.
hobby, huh?
Vai, começa logo o julgamento, pelo amor de Deus.
Well, that's it for snack time. I'm going to have another look around the area. I don't know what we're looking for yet, but we've still got some time. As attorneys, I suggest the 2 of you think the case over again. It would be awkward if you got all tongue-tied on stage during the trial.
Alright, thanks for your help, and for the snacks.
It was nothing. A small task for the Spina di Rosula. Silver, Malus, it's time to go. I'll be back if I find anything new.
Possibilidade de uma terceira pessoa.
Alright, it's time to put our heads together. We've got to get our defense ready for the trial. Oh, it's probably gonna be a long and difficult case. There's no point in worrying about that now. We just need to prepare. Here, take Paimon's notes. They should help you review the situation.
Uma coisa que não faz sentido é como que a pessoa arrancou as roupas da mulher sequestrada assim tão fácil. Tipo, arrastou a mulher sem roupa por aí? Não entendi essa parte. Será que o resto das informações eu vou encontrando ali no julgamento? É porque não tem nada. Tipo, eu sei só uns detalhes, mas e aí?
What do we do? The whole situation is so confusing.
Eu tenho algumas ideias.
Good plan. Impossible things don't just happen. We'll get to the truth one way or another.
Just relax. Even if everyone else suspects Lenny and Lynette, at least we will be supporting them from the stands. Besides, I doubt FURINA understands any more about what happened than we do.
Thanks, Navia. Well, we'll be going then.
Best of luck to you.
Finally, you're back. Well, how did your investigation go?
Como anda a investigação? Bem mal, moço.
Estou lascado.
To be honest, you might be disappointed.
No. We're already very grateful that you were willing to help.
Well now, don't you all look disappointed. Don't tell me that your investigation came up. And that was to be expected, of course. The guilty can never produce proof of their innocence. But don't let that stop you. I shall be terribly disappointed should you, my most anticipated foe, concede so easily.
Cala a boca e vamos logo, vai.
Since both parties are present, I declare that the trial regarding the magic show incident is now in session. Firstly, in order for the audience to understand the causes and results of the incident, could we please have Mr. Linney explain the trick?
Yes, of course. I will explain while Lynette demonstrates on stage. All the necessary items have been prepared.
Thank you, Mr. Linney. In that case, I take your statement to be that you ran to and remained hidden within the magic box in the audience stands once the trick began, and thus could not have committed the crime. Is this correct?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
In that case, I call upon the prosecution. Lady FURINA, do you wish to refute his statement in any way?
Quero ver como é que essa doida aí vai fazer as acusações, vai falar alguma coisa, mas vamos ver.
Of course I do. Allow me to take the first shot and break this case wide open. Mr. Linney is clearly lying.
Protesto?
There is no way
Tem que ter a jogadinha de mão, né?
If you were to abduct Halsey and
Jogadinha de braço, falei errado.
In fact, I'd say you were hardly in that tunnel at all.
That is simply your hypothesis based on the presumption that I'm guilty.
Ai, toma.
Is that so? And if I may ask, what did you hear while you were inside your box?
The roaring countdown of the crowd, of course. That's how I kept track of the time and built anticipation for the finale.
And you didn't hear anything else at all? Nothing that might leave an impression of any kind?
No, nothing.
I see. But when the count reached 30 seconds or so, there was a thud. One so loud that I believe practically everyone heard it.
Huh?
Hey, hang on. Something's not right here.
É, como o Linney não pode ter sabido sobre o som, né? É verdade, teve... Sim, ó, teve o som, mas como é que ele não escutou? Ué.
Yeah, I'm sure he could have heard a noise that loud from inside the box.
I was right by the box and I definitely heard the thud.
Ih, diabo.
Look at those scales. Could those mean...
Representam o posicionamento da máquina.
Well then, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to use the words of the magician himself. You never know what can happen in the blink of an eye. Of course, I have armed myself to do far more than smash your alibi. Confidence cannot go unfounded, and my foundations are rock solid. Tell me, aren't you and Lynette actually from the House of the Hearth?
Casa da Lareira?
The House of the Hearth?
Ih! Ih, diabo.
No wonder they did something like this.
So the serial disappearances were the Fatui's doing. Now it all makes sense.
I've got a feeling that what happened on stage probably wasn't just an accident.
That's irrelevant. Our identities have nothing to do with what happened.
Indeed. Then perhaps you could tell us everything that happened during that 1 minute. Your first priority is to prove yourself innocent after all. I'm sure there is little that needs to be kept secret now. Unless your script already has holes in it. The Outlander is speechless. My, oh my, don't they look flabbergasted?
A personalidade da outra aí, ó.
Now comes the infighting and discord, I suppose. This was almost too easy.
Quer dizer, as duas personalidades dessa esquisitona aí.
Good thing I made all those preparations. Seems the all-nighter I pulled last night is really paying off.
A doida virou a noite, é isso.
Hey, Linny, why didn't you tell us this before?
Os dois são fatui.
Order! Order! Mr. Linney, allow me to re-establish the facts. Lady FURINA has raised 2 points. First, when the thud was heard in the Opera House, you were neither in the box nor the tunnel. Second, you and Ms. Lynette are both members of the House of the Hearth. Are these claims true?
Não há dúvidas quanto à habilidade de mágico enganar os outros. Considerando como Linney escondeu a sua identidade, tudo isso pode ser muito bem ter sido armação. Além disso, o Child está aqui em Fontaine junto com os outros membros da casa. Deve existir algum plano acontecendo por aqui. Já fui vítima de um desses planos antes, mas agora...
Please answer my question, Mr. Linney.
I'm sorry. Yes, they're true, Your Honor.
I knew it!
Well, that's it. We might as well move on to the sentencing already.
What should we do now?
Posso falar?
Granted.
Meu cliente omitiu algumas informações importantes. Minha defesa não pode continuar.
In that case, what is your request?
Eu gostaria de uma pequena pausa. Existem algumas coisas que precisam ser discutidas.
Is that really necessary? They're already as good as guilty.
The defendant deceived their own attorneys. What is there left to discuss?
Order! Order, I say! Your request is reasonable, and we shall adjourn. This trial will reconvene in 1 hour.
So you would stick to Mr. Linney's defense even after knowing what you do now? You certainly have more professionalism than I thought. In that case, my dear audience, let's allow the joy of victory to steep for a little while longer.
Ah, fica quieta, moça, por favor, você tá me dando raiva já.
Well, this is awkward. I didn't think the Hydro Archon would dig all that up. I'm sorry, Traveler and Paimon.
Yeah, sorry.
Paimon doesn't know where to start. We trusted you two. We based our entire reasoning on the assumption that you weren't bad guys. Not to set the wrong tone or anything, but Paimon's really mad.
Olha, eu acho que eles não são malvados, mas tipo... Tá, eles foram criados lá por causa da Ayla de cabelo branco? Sim, mas...
I'm very sorry.
Parece que eles foram manipulated.
And reasonably so, but please, let me explain. I know you've clashed with the Fatui several times before. I wouldn't be surprised if just hearing the word is enough to make you upset. But our organization is very, very large, and the Harbingers have very different personalities and goals.
Right now, we want to save people. As many as we can.
That's right. I'm sure we're on the same page when it comes to this nation and the disaster that its people might face. I knew if it weren't for our respective identities, we could become good friends. That's why I didn't wish to flat out lie to you, but chose to hide some details instead. The truth is very important, but being completely transparent about everything would see us spending more effort than we need to.
Mas como é que a gente ia saber que isso não é só outra mentira?
Right. So, you be the judge. Heck, if I were you, I fear that I'd even struggle to trust me at this point. You met a Fatus who works as a magician, a trickster by trade. All by coincidence, too. But still, I'm asking you to trust me. I am no criminal. At least, not in this case.
Sorry. Please forgive us.
Well, you both say that, but...
Aonde você foi enquanto o truque tava acontecendo?
Right. Let's hear your answer first, and no lies now!
Of course. I'll answer any question you ask. We've been trying to find out how the Oratrice operates. We want to know why it has a consciousness. Why can it deliver sentences accurately? During our investigations, we learned that the machine's core is beneath it. From that moment on, Lynette and I have been designing this box swap trick, with the objective of getting close to the core.
Is that why you needed a whole minute?
That's right. In truth, the audience would take about 75 seconds to count down from 60, while I would only need 15 to get to the opposite box. So, after jumping into the tunnel, I accessed the Opera House basement via the vent, and went to investigate the room in which the core is stored.
That air vent was created during the construction of the tunnel specifically to execute this step.
E você encontrou?
Well, nothing. As soon as I reached that room and was about to investigate, I heard someone's voice. Which should have been impossible, of course. I was quite certain that I was the only one in the room. That voice seemed to recognize me and tried to speak to me. I chose to err on the side of caution and retreated the way I came.
Será que é a vilãzona lá?
On the way back, I saw the broken vase and the clothes on the ground, but the countdown was almost finished, so there wasn't time to give it any thought. After that, the homicide occurred just as you saw.
Well, that explains why you didn't hear the thud.
Mas por que você queria saber sobre a máquina?
Because of that prophecy I told you about, of course. We must know all we can about this nation's secrets in order to deal with that prophesized crisis.
That's the only way we can save everyone.
So, there you have it. The whole truth. I swear, I didn't hide anything from you this time. It was never my wish to proceed under this cloud of mistrust either. But, like I said earlier, you can be the judge. If you want to leave because you don't trust the Fatui, there's nothing I can do to stop you.
Well, Traveler, you decide. Paimon will follow your lead however you choose.
Bom, eu acredito, né? Mas como é que eu posso defender? Não tem prova o suficiente pra fazer isso, cara. Vamos lá, né? Vamos tentar.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for giving us a chance.
The current problem is that the scales are tipped pretty badly against you two. If we want to refute the Hydro Archon's accusations, we're gonna need a seriously watertight defense.
A gente já tem as evidências chaves, ué?
Huh?
Como assim?
Oh, Paimon thinks she gets what you mean.
Me explica, eu não entendi.
Both parties have returned to their positions. Let us continue the trial. When last we left off, Mr. Linney acknowledged the new evidence presented by Lady FURINA as fact. Therefore, Lady FURINA may continue stating her reconstruction of the events.
That took long enough. Now then, if everyone would lend me their attention, at this stage, let's revisit that scene from Linney's perspective.
Baseado nos relatos, você pode encontrar parte das suas declarações que não têm fundamento. Use as evidências e pistas obtidas durante a investigação para refutar quaisquer séries de eventos. Use suas refutações para convencer o público e obter mais apoio das pessoas. A Hora Máquina vai exibir a mudança, né? Quando você encontrar e refutar todos os conteúdos incorretos, você pode completar o ciclo de refutação e revelar a verdade. Da hora. Oh, legal.
As the countdown began, he entered the tunnel.
Tá.
When the flatbed trolley passed, he opened the box and got into an altercation with Halsey, which caused the loud thud. He did not realize that this sound could be heard by everyone in the opera house, which is why he claimed earlier that he could not hear the sound. Finally, he used the vase to knock her out, before making her change clothes to prevent others from recognizing her. At this time, Cowell arrived in the tunnel, having heard that strange noise, and caught Linney red-handed. So Linney proceeded to knock him out too before stuffing him into that box. Afterward, Linney passed the unconscious Halsey to his accomplice through the magic box in the audience stands, before operating the devices such that Cowell's death would be ruled an accident.
Tá.
And there you have it. That's the truth behind what happened.
Does the defendant's side have any objections to Lady FURINA's description of the events?
The key to refuting Lady FURINA is the order of events.
Tá, não é esse primeiro, então pode ter sido esse aqui. Aqui, achei.
He left via the vent after entering the tunnel. He couldn't have had that altercation with Halsey.
Tá, já achei um. Bom, ninguém saiu ou entrou, né? A voz na câmara.
Linney went to the room that contains the Oratrice's core. This is the actual truth.
A evidência atual indica que quando Linney voltou, o incidente já havia ocorrido. Tudo que Linney viu foi as roupas.
Linney did not take part in the underground altercation. He only witnessed traces of the aftermath.
Attention! Ace Detective Paimon has something to say! When the countdown started, Linney did indeed go into the tunnel. But he immediately used a vent to access the Opera House basement, which is where the underground core of the Oratrice is stored. Once he reached that area, he heard a voice in what should have been an empty room. Since he felt something was amiss, he returned immediately. The crime scene had already developed by the time he reached the tunnel again, and in order to complete the magic trick, he did not remain there for any length of time.
Okay.
Finally, he reached the surface, and that was when the accident happened from his point of view. Therefore, he's innocent.
Oh, voltou ao normal, nice. Refutado com sucesso. Toma essa.
Toma essa!
Paimon did it! Paimon actually managed to say all that!
In other words, you believe that he knew nothing of the incident?
That's right!
Além disso, acredito que o raciocínio da minha oposição é falho.
My reasoning?
O equipamento no palco foi modificado. Contudo, você diz que o Correu esbarrou em Linney por acaso.
If that's the case, then if Cowell hadn't entered the tunnel, who was the entire setup meant to kill? Assuming that what you say is true, Linney only needed to kidnap the young girl to cause a new disappearance case. What would the point of killing someone on stage be?
Oh, they have a point.
That's right, you tell him! And that's why they're partners of mine. Oh, well, your denial is very strident, I'll give you that. But what proof do you have to back your claims?
Você se lembra de como refutou o álibi do menino Ney?
Of course I do. If he had been in the magic box the whole time, how could he have not heard that sound? Why do you ask? You're saying that he wasn't?
A sua alegação também se tornou uma pista... se tornou minha arma. Qual é a prova de que Linei não estava no túnel quando o crime aconteceu? É o som estranho?
That's right! Linny wasn't in the box or in the tunnel. That's why he didn't hear anything strange during the performance. This means that when the crime happened, Linny had already entered the basement via the vent. The same clue you used to disprove his alibi has now become the best proof.
Isso tá muito legal, velho. Curti. Parabéns pela criatividade, meu Rui. Isso ficou muito bom, de verdade.
Well played. To think you'd use such logic. Well then, if it wasn't Linny who committed the crimes, then who was it?
Selecione o ícone de engrenagens na interface para checar as dúvidas. Selecione as respostas e preencha todas as engrenagens vazias para verificar a corretude da sua dedução. Se você cometeu erros, terá que realizar outra seleção entre as opções restantes. Quando você tiver respondido todas as questões, eu posso concluir a lógica. De acordo com as descobertas, os fogos de artifício foram disparados pouco antes do fim da apresentação, incendiando as cordas que seguravam o tanque de água. Linei não é mais suspeito, somente os outros membros da trupe poderiam ter feito isso. Linei deu um relato detalhado de como é que o truque funcionava, usando uma caixa dentro de outra caixa. A ideia era que trocassem de lugar por causa do subterrâneo. Tendo trocado suas roupas, Lynette e seu assistente tomariam a responsabilidade pelas interações no palco. O casaco pertence a Halsey, a mulher que desapareceu. Quem é a única pessoa que possivelmente poderia ter cometido o crime? O Correl?
The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's assistant. He would have been able to tamper with the equipment. Halsey is the missing person and an ordinary audience member. Or did she have her own scheme all along? Could there have been a third person involved? Is that really a possibility?
Mas não faz sentido, tipo, o Correl mesmo ter feito isso, sendo que o cara se desviveu no processo, né? Vamos tentar isso aqui. Tá, deu errado. Então foi o Correl. Foi ele mesmo.
That can't be right. Are you serious?
Então, não faz sentido, na minha opinião.
The killer was, in fact, Cowell, the deceased.
Oh, is that so? How interesting. Let's hear your reasoning then.
Até eu tô curioso, não entendi por que ele faria isso.
What I must do next is recreate the truth. What Cowell did and how he went from would-be perpetrator to victim.
Eu odeio ter que admitir isso, mas nessa parte eu só fui... eu não prestei atenção no que tinha um texto ali em cima, falando cada uma das 4 engrenagens ali. Eu só fui escolhendo e colocando qualquer coisa, porque eu achei que tinha que adivinhar o negócio, mas é isso, né? Eu não prestei atenção. E pra poupar você que tá assistindo isso, e também pra me poupar de passar vergonha, eu vou deixar isso pra lá, então... Ai meu Deus, velho, não é possível que eu sou tão cego assim, cara.
Incompetente.
Tá, errei só um. A roupa. Então é isso. Ué, não? O criminoso deve ter entendido o truque por trás da mágica e devia estar em uma posição para modificar facilmente o equipamento. Deixando de lado como ele morreu, o Correl tinha todos os meios para cometer o crime ao dispor dele. O barulho estranho poderia provavelmente ter sido o som do Correl e a Halsey brigando. Linei não estava no túnel por 1 minuto. Isso teria dado tempo do Correl trazer Halsey para fora da caixa. Mas segundo o testemunho, ninguém entrou ou saiu da casa. Então mesmo que ele tivesse a levado, não haveria meio de sair. Sair da caixa teria sido em plena vista da plateia, basicamente garantido que eles seriam descobertos.
What's wrong, Traveler? Are you still having trouble figuring things out?
Onde que a Halsey se meteu?
I see how it is. So this was all just a bluff. And here I thought you had something to show for it. But it seems you're still far from the truth.
É, tem alguma coisa que não tá se encaixando nisso, velho. Não faz sentido.
Since we're at a dead end, why not consider a different track? Just like the trick as it transpired, the end result must have been utterly different from the magician's initial design.
If only we knew how Halsey disappeared.
Well, that would be nice, but the tunnel only has 3 exits, and none of them seem very likely. And it's not like this is a magic trick where you can just make a real live person disappear. You know, like you did from that water tank, Lynette.
É, mágica. Espera, será que foi a água?
Excuse my interruption, dear opponents. But do you
Como
not
assim
see
foi a
that the
água?
crowd is growing impatient? There is no greater sin in this opera house than an awkward delay in the performance.
If the defense is unable to make further effective arguments, we will move on to the next stage of the trial.
Lenny was not in the tunnel at that moment, which gave our criminal ample time.
Tá.
The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing Halsey and the criminal. The deceased's name is Cowell, Lenny's assistant. He would have been able to tamper with the equipment.
Ai, qual seria o próximo? É, então foi isso? Mas como é que o vaso tem relação nisso? Isso que eu não entendi.
Paimon gets it! It all comes together if Halsey disappeared instead of being kidnapped. Lynette escaped from the water tank, vanishing gradually and leaving only clothes behind. If there's a similar method where a person could be transformed into water...
Just a moment, please. I do hope you know how preposterous you sound at the moment. How could a person ever be transformed into water? This is reality we're talking about here, not some magic trick.
Ah, é? Então eu quero ver as coisas do maluco lá.
Must we really? I should think that of anyone. Your friend Linny already knows this truth very well. Magic tricks are ultimately just illusions and misdirection. But Halsey's disappearance is very real. We're talking about 2 completely different things.
É, se... Tipo, ela foi sequestrada de alguma forma. Então, se não tem explicação, pode ter sido mágica, literalmente.
Even so, I trust the traveler's judgment. The truth must be out there somewhere. Perhaps some new line of reasoning may open if we try to gather all the focal points that don't make sense. Since Cal was the deceased, we haven't placed much attention on him. But given that we aren't making much progress with the case, it wouldn't hurt to have a look at his belongings, would it?
People really do come up with all sorts of harebrained schemes when at the end of their rope. The way I see it, your suggestion that we broaden the scope of our investigation is nothing but a tactic for stalling the trial.
Nevertheless, I believe that this is a reasonable request on the part of an attorney. Since the trial does indeed appear to be at an impasse, I believe that additional evidence may help us make more progress. Guards, please step into the lounge and examine the personal effects of the deceased, Cowell.
We are still examining the items, but we have already made critical progress that we feel must be shared with everyone post-haste. We discovered several test tubes of fluid within Cowell's baggage, each labeled separately. The notebook in his backpack claims that these fluids are... water from the primordial sea.
Primordial? Como assim?
The primordial sea. The note's contents also indicate that Cowell belonged to an organization that sells illegal drugs and that he had an accomplice.
Eita pega.
The notebook has many entries concerning safe usage of these fluids, in which the keyword dissolve appears many times. One of these tubes was labeled Opera Epiclese, along with yesterday's date. It is empty. The notes also state that these dissolution properties work exclusively on people from Fontaine. It's likely that Halsey was chosen as some sort of test subject.
Eita pega.
As such, we believe that the defense's hypothesis is, in fact, supported by sufficient evidence.
You've got to be kidding! People dissolving into water?
Could something so ridiculous actually be true?
Wait a moment. This reminds me of a certain prophecy, but it's just a coincidence, isn't it?
Huh. If people can become water, Does that mean that the water tank's real use was as a means to hide water stains? And if Cowl was targeting that girl... Wait just a minute. Could that mean... You two, with me, quick!
Demoiselle, wait! What about your partners?
Let's go. Just trust me.
Order! Order! It is undeniable that further examination of the deceased's personal effects has yielded some surprising results, but we cannot yet verify the veracity of these clues. Still, let us assume that these clues are indeed authentic, albeit with the understanding that Ms. Halsey has yet to be found. Guards, please continue examining the items along these lines. Mr. Linney, it appears your hypothesis is supported by the evidence, so please continue speaking.
Of course. Thank you, Your Honor. If we uphold this hypothesis, I believe that many of this case's seemingly unrelated clues can be connected together.
Right! Like the metal hook! That one didn't make sense at all. Let's think about this. Cowell's methods must have something to do with that water from the primordial sea.
Tá. Então era isso que tava faltando, né? Ah, não. Peraí.
The water tank. Now it seems like the hook rope was not meant. Lynette was in the magic box.
Tem o texto aqui em cima, né, de cada um deles. Eu não prestei atenção. Tá. Quem é o principal suspeito? O Correl. Controlar o tempo, talvez a caixa. Que item o culpado usou para dissolver? Isso aqui. Controlar o tempo. Talvez a corda. Tá, errei só a corda. Então, talvez tenha sido o gancho. Aê, agora sim. Eu não tinha visto que tinha uns textos ali em cima pra associar o bagulho. Eu só tava escolhendo aleatoriamente. Foi mal pela nubice. Bom.
Cowell would tamper with the water tank rope and the number selector securing his target. When the magic box containing Halsey was lowered, the metal hook would retract gradually and pierce the balloon at the top of the box.
Tá.
When the balloon attached to the box popped, the water from the primordial seed inside it would pour down and dissolve Halsey. Afterward, Cowell would enter the tunnel and break the flower vase to conceal the water inside the tunnel, with the remaining evidence being covered up by the water tank on stage. But he encountered something unexpected in the tunnel, and wound up being fatally hit by the same water tank he meant to use to cover his tracks.
Então meio que ele se matou sem querer?
That does make sense.
Faz sentido.
Actually links together a lot of the more confusing pieces of evidence.
Aí, voltou normal.
Oh dear, what do I do? Even I think they sound convincing now. Have I falsely accused an innocent person? What a humiliation.
Now, it seems like the only point of contention remaining is the exact circumstances that led to Cal's death. His notes mentioned he had an accomplice who could be related to the situation.
On that note, the guards have just contacted me indicating that they uncovered new evidence. I shall now invite him on stage to share it with us.
Tá.
Thank you, Your Honor. We were just inspecting the luggage of the other people involved in this case, and we found an identical sample of the water from the primordial sea among Linney's personal effects.
E?
What?
Eita diabo.
That can't be.
Oh, I see. Well, how wonderfully comedic.
Armaram pra cima da gente.
Puta que pariu.
Only to come back and whoop. Does this not clear all doubt? My dear citizens, my loyal audience, allow me to present my reasoning and bring this performance to a swift close.
Agora lascou.
Linney did not need to take part in the dissolution of the young woman at all. Indeed, he did leave the scene via the vent. Having made modifications to the props beforehand, his accomplice Cowell then caused Halsey to vanish using the water from the primordial sea.
that upon his return, in cruel avarice, Linny desired sole credit and prepared to do away with his partner in crime. Ultimately, he knocked Cowell out, and the tool meant to cover the crime up also became a murder weapon. Now, as much as I regret having come to such a viciously straightforward conclusion, it does seem that the famed Fatui is quite the cold-blooded and ruthless organization.
Tá.
Am I right, Mr. Linny?
We've used up all the evidence we collected. There's no way for us to make a rebuttal here. Is this the end of the road?
Ai, ai. Deu ruim. Deu zebra.
It doesn't look like there's any way around this. Seems using the water as new evidence was too good a move. Why did this have to happen now?
I think we've all seen enough now. And we have ample witnesses to my flawless reasoning. I believe this is indeed the finale. Now then, my good, noble Chief Justice, should we not, in your view, move... excuse me, everyone, but I must interject.
Miss, I must ask you not to shout, and to respect the ongoing legal proceedings.
Oh, come on. Don't be hasty. I have a good reason for interrupting, you know. Now, would anyone here like to take a little break from all this debate? And I'll show you an amazing trick. One that can bring a young woman who has disappeared back in the flesh, right before your very eyes. Please, do the honors, Mr. Linny.
Como assim?
What in the world is she saying?
No offense, miss, but miracles like that are beyond my scope as a magician.
Come on now, don't be silly. Magic is all about misdirection, isn't it? It often conceals the truth while presenting a fascinating illusion. But once everyone believes the illusion, can't magic reveal the truth to them once again? And wouldn't such a trick be the most marvelous finale to today's performance? Come on, Lenny and Lynette, give it another go. Don't worry. Spina di Rasula has made the necessary arrangements on your behalf.
Que isso do nada, véi?
But as the magic makers and stars of the show, I think I should leave the final performance to you.
I understand.
And voila.
Ué.
Sorry for the interruption.
Wait, isn't that Halsey? So the whole thing about people dissolving wasn't true after all?
To be clear, I'm only here because this person told me that if I testified, the merit of doing so would lessen my sentence. I was hiding outside this room listening to the proceedings because I was afraid that I would be the one put on trial. I was just feeling happy that no one had noticed me. And then before I knew it, she caught me.
That'll teach you to underestimate us three.
Where should I begin? I'm sorry.
Ih, rapaz.
I'm the one who killed Cowell. I admit it.
What? Why?
Firstly, my name isn't Halsey. It's Lillian, and I'm originally from Mondstadt. I heard that Linny's show was gonna be a real thriller, but I missed the chance to buy a ticket, so I stole one. That's how I make a living. I steal stuff here and there. And I'd never been caught before. But I was noticed at the harbor a few days ago, and I barely got away. Linny was the one who caught me in the act.
Ah, então agora foi você? Quer dizer, era ela?
No wonder you look familiar. So you were the thief. Liddy even mentioned that you were pretty skilled.
Well, and I thought that would have been the end of it, but then the number selector chose me. He even mentioned the Fortress of Meripede. That's a prison, isn't it? So you can imagine how shocked I was. I thought he was onto me for sure. So I played along with the show while looking for an opening to flee. But then I got water poured on me for no reason, and then someone jumped into the tunnel to nab me. I wasn't going to take that lying down, so I knocked him out and stuffed him into the box. There was nowhere to run from there, though, so I had to change my clothes and hide in a box containing performance costumes. I slipped out after the first guard arrived at the scene.
Como que ela se escondeu lá dentro do túnel? Oxi.
Eu sei lá, porra.
Can a person even hide in there?
Sei lá,
But
velho.
I swear, I didn't know that the water tank would fall down. Really, I swear it. Had I known that, I wouldn't have put him in the magic box. I may be a thief, but I'm no killer.
Well, that makes everything pretty clear now, doesn't it?
Então tá, né?
This time, we need to tell the entire story from Lillian's perspective.
Lá vamos lá de novo. Tá, isso aqui é verdade. Halsey usou um mecanismo mágico que havia preparado inteiramente para dissolver.
The strange sound wasn't from a fight. It was Lillian's attempt to break out when she was frightened.
Aham. É a luta. O vaso.
The flower vase was not broken to cover anything up, but was smashed during the struggle between Lillian and Cowell.
E aqui. Talvez as roupas? É.
Lillian was afraid that she would be recognized if she left, so she changed clothes and hid, biding her time. Just what one might expect of an experienced thief.
Pô, isso aqui teve uma reviravolta bem da hora, hein? Curti isso aqui, velho. Caraca. Que da hora.
Lillian panicked. Her panic only intensified after she entered the tunnel and had water poured on her head. So she kicked the door open, producing the thud we all heard.
Ué, mas... Ela se escondeu dentro de uma caixa? Os caras não teriam... Tipo, os guardas não teriam aberto as caixas pra ver se não tinha algo suspeito também? Tipo, ué... Não entendi.
Hearing the commotion, Cowell leapt into the tunnel, only to discover that Lillian had not dissolved. He did not know that Lillian was not from Fontaine, but was a thief who made her way in by stealing a ticket. Mistakenly believing that the water from the primordial sea needed time to take effect, he tried to force Lillian back into the box. The two broke the flower vase during the struggle, but Lillian came out on top, knocking Cowell out and putting him in the box. With no way of escaping, she changed her clothes and hid in the costume trunk until the performance ended.
É isso.
She knew that she would have to go through guard inspection if she tried to leave afterward. So, she has been trapped in the opera house these last 2 days.
She had already become desperately hungry by the time we were chatting over macarons. So, she swiped 2 of them right under our noses. Talk about a sneaky thief.
Faz sentido porque tinha sumido naquela hora.
At this point, all the events that happened in the tunnel have now come to light.
Ah, so that's the whole story.
Bravo! Bravo!
Now then, Lady FURINA, do you wish to speak against the defense's statements? Please answer the question, Lady FURINA. Also, if I may add, the trial has not yet ended. As such, I request that the prosecution not leave the room before the proceedings have concluded.
Ela ia embora.
What? Are you reading my mind now? No. I have no further arguments. I admit defeat. But really, could you at least have left me with some dignity?
Wow. Look at that. She's like a deflated
balão
balloon
murcho.
now.
If there are no objections, then as the Chief Justice of Fontaine, I shall once again repeat the full sequence of events. The actual perpetrator of the serial disappearances, Cowell, selected his next victim from the audience reservation list. With some modifications to the selector, he could ensure that the pre-selected young woman would be chosen. To cover up any evidence while committing the deed, Cowell thought of allowing the water tank to fall, which would conceal the water left behind after the young woman was dissolved. He also tampered with the rope suspending the water tank, using the fireworks at the end of the performance to cause the tank to drop and hide the watermarks. He poured the water from the primordial sea into a balloon during the preparation of the magic box and stuck it to the box's lid. Finally, he passed the prepared hook on a rope through the gap in the magic box's door when bringing the young woman to said box. When the magic trick officially began, the box containing the woman was lowered into the tunnel, tightening the hook rope and bursting the balloon containing the water. If all had gone to plan, the young woman would be dissolved at this time. However, Lillian was not from Fontaine, and thus fled the box with a loud noise. Realizing that there was trouble, Cowell entered the tunnel and met Lillian. Thinking that the waters had not yet taken effect, he decided to proceed. However, his opponent was more capable than he thought, and he was overcome, knocked unconscious, and placed into the magic box, and thus became his own final victim. Lillian, according to her own statements, then changed clothes and hid until the performance ended, before hiding in other parts of the opera house. As for Linny, he was in the underground structures within the opera house, and was thus ignorant of these happenings. From this reconstruction of events, we can conclude that Linny, the accused, is in fact innocent. While there is much in Linny and Lillian's conduct that should still be investigated separately, this case, at least, can be handed over to the Oratrice to make the final decision.
Tá. Ih, rapaz. Ah, um papelzinho.
As such, Linny and Lynette are officially declared not guilty.
E vencemos o julgamento.
Great work, partners.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Imagina.
Next, I think we deserve an explanation, Guard Vaughn. How did you find the water from the primordial sea in Linny's baggage?
Right! Your discovery caused me to make a serious mistake, you know. Or was that not a discovery, but false evidence that you dare to bring before this court?
I suspect that the accomplice mentioned in Cowell's notes was not Linny, but you, yes? I'm sure you know what you must do to lessen your sentence.
Speak quickly! Unless you want to earn yourself a one-way ticket to Coupon Town.
I was just following orders. We were supposed to place blame for the serial disappearances onto Linny, and thus cause suspicion to fall on the Fatui. The higher-ups said this was the best opportunity to do so.
And now that your plan has fallen through, and the secrets of the water have been revealed, you have become a liability to said higher-ups, yes? Therefore, you would be wise to tell everything you know, and seek the protection of the guards.
Yes, I'll tell you everything I know. Our boss discovered that the water can cause people to dissolve. It can also be made into a potion, which when extremely diluted, can cause people to experience unforgettable exhilaration. We've been in this business for a while now, and have made decent mora off it. The disappearances were also the boss's idea. I mean, this is the boss we're talking about. The...
Eita, pega! Que isso?
Porra, menor!
Puta merda, o maluco se dissolveu na nossa frente. Tá desgraça.
I shouldn't have expected any less of them.
An outrageous act.
Isso aí é o Child?
All present, please submit to inspection immediately.
É o Child que fez isso? Acho que não, na real, né? O Child não tem cara de que faria isso. Muito esquisito, né?
We're just going back now?
Vamos só voltar? Bom, solução temporária, né?
True, but...
Traveler, Paimon, please wait.
Oi, fala.
Linny...
I know you may not want to speak to me right now. Maybe you don't even want to look at me. But still, let me thank you again for defending me to the end. Even after you learned that I'm a member of the Fatui.
Só não queria que ninguém fosse acusado assim de graça, né?
I guess. But regardless, I'd like the opportunity to set things straight. I didn't approach you with any ulterior motives or ill intent. I've spoken to you as myself, just plain Linny this entire time. As for why I'm a Fatus, it's because the goals of the House of the Hearth align with those of an orphan like me. That's all. That was how Father, who you might know as the Knave, approached recruiting us back then too.
The Knave? The one who controls the House of the Hearth? She's your father?
That's right. And since we're here, I was wondering, would you mind hearing a story? It's about my past.
Pode falar aí, moço.
Back when our parents first died, Lynette and I were left wandering the streets. To survive, I took to surreptitiously observing an older street performer who did magic. It took me several days to figure out how he pulled off his amazing tricks. I took my sister through several streets until we found a crowded corner, and we began to perform magic tricks there. To my surprise, we proved to be pretty popular, and we could at least stop worrying about where our next meal would come from for a time. But I didn't want my sister to remain a street rat together with me forever. Before long, an aristocrat came to me and claimed that he wished to take us in after watching my performances.
So you went from orphans to nobility just like that?
That was how we felt at first too. As if fate was on our side and we could say goodbye to those painful days. But I gradually discovered that while we were called foster children, he was really after my talent for magic tricks. He would constantly take me to all sorts of banquets to garner attention, which he would then use to expand his social circles.
That doesn't seem too bad either. Better than roaming the streets at any rate.
It took a while for me to realize just how dark his heart really was. After one particular performance at a banquet, I discovered that Lynette was not on the same return vehicle as me. I waited a long time after we returned home, but she did not come back. I went to that noble's bedroom and asked him about her whereabouts.
Ih, rapaz.
The answer he gave me was, she caught the eye of the most eminent person at the banquet, so I sent her over as a gift. I mean, you'll be able to perform your magic regardless of who your assistant is, yes?
Oh no. So he was gonna...
Caralho, que merda, véi.
But wouldn't Fontaine's laws deal with such people?
As far as outsiders are concerned, this is a relationship akin to adoption or foster care, and they have their ways of escaping the eye of the law. I managed to ferret out the location of the mansion of that so-called eminent person, and hurried through the night. But by the time I leaped over the walls, avoided the guards, and made my way in, all I saw was the moonlit ground covered in blood, and the knave standing there in the darkness.
Ih, rapaz.
So, she'd already taken care of that guy.
Pelo menos não aconteceu nada com a moça aí, né?
That's right. She had rescued my sister before she could come to any harm, and had even discovered several girls hidden in a basement, all of them orphans. Father, the knave, might have seen something in me, and so she made me an offer. The House of the Hearth welcomes you, for your interests align with ours. Here, none will ever betray you. Indeed, betrayal shall never be permitted here. I was hesitant to trust her. I had just been betrayed by nobles, but she was also quick to destroy the noble who had taken us in at first, giving us back our freedom.
Oh, so that's how the two of you joined the House of the Hearth.
Essa coisa tá atrás da Gênesis, né?
She has her own plans. She has gained permission from the Sarita to first use the Gnosis' power when she obtains it. She plans to use it to find a way to break the prophecy and save Fontaine.
So, she believes in that prophecy too?
That's right.
Ué.
The whole House of the Hearth is currently working to combat that crisis.
Além que não é uma boa pessoa.
Parece verídico, hein?
Today's case has also proven that people from Fontaine can indeed dissolve into some sort of water, thus further supporting the prophecy. All of us house members here, Lady Arlecchino herself included, are from Fontaine. We won't give up on defending our homeland. To us orphans, the only connection we have left to this world, apart from our family, is our homeland.
So, from small deeds like distributing magic pockets to huge schemes like stealing a Gnosis, everything is aimed at dealing with that prophecy.
É, foi mal, mas eu ainda não consigo confiar 100% em você.
It's all right. I understand. The only thing I can do is relate all this to you. I just hope you can understand that even as a member of the House, I have never stopped making my own decisions, and that I believe what I'm doing is right.
Tá.
If you should need anything at all in the future, feel free to find me. I will do my best to help you, as plain Linny.
Beleza, moço. Muito obrigado aí pelas declarações. É, muita coisa pra assimilar assim, né? Do nada. Pô. Mas eu não entendi como é que diabos o Child vai aparecer nessa história. Cadê o cara? Não vai vir não? Tá com preguiça?
Hey there. What was with the disappearing act you pulled right as the trial ended?
Were you looking for us, Navia?
Well, this whole thing isn't exactly over, is it? I do feel that we're getting closer to solving the serial disappearances case, though. Huh? What's wrong, my dear partner?
Bom, eu tava tentando defender alguém, né? Eu não tava querendo meio que chegar a uma conclusão desse negócio aí, moça.
Are you sure we're the ones who can crack a case that's been cold for decades now? And given that there's new evidence from the trial, there should be a trail of breadcrumbs for the Hydro Archon's people to follow now, right?
Ah, I see. Well, I won't lie. I'm a little shocked to hear that from you. But I suppose you are just travelers who have only arrived in Fontaine after all. Sorry. I might have been too presumptuous.
Don't say that, Navia.
Ah, and we were having so much fun investigating with you, too.
É, verdade.
It was like having new waters flowing into a stagnant mire, causing new hope to spring forth, and the reflection in the murk to become clearer. Sorry about that. I'm a bit prone to nostalgia. Don't mind me. Wait, shall we have a farewell meal? You know, to commemorate our time as partners?
Huh? Do we really need to get that formal? Well, guess you really did treat us as partners, huh?
Well, I'd just like to have a proper ending to every important memory. That way there are no regrets later. Anyway, it would just be a meal, so it shouldn't take up too much of your time.
Não, se você diz, então vambora, né? Comidinha, nham nham nham.
Oh, wonderful. In that case, why don't we return to the court of Fontaine and head to the Hotel de Boer?
All right then, let's have our farewell meal.
É, acabei a parte 1. Caraca, isso demorou muito, hein, rapaz. É, rapaz, que começo de nação maravilhoso, né? Todo esse primeiro ato, ele foi muito bom do começo ao fim. E tipo, em nenhum momento eu me senti entediado ou cansado fazendo isso. Inclusive o ato 2 também foi no mesmo ritmo. Começou muito bem, foi indo muito bem e terminou muito bem. Todo esse negócio do NPC morrendo ali na apresentação do Linnei teve um impacto grande. Tipo, não foi que nem o TP lá em Azuma, que o cara só... Ai, morri de velhice, aí a gente ficou triste, não sei o que. Aqui eles fizeram uma sacada bem melhor desse artifício de desvivência, né? Aí teve a Furina, que claramente foi o foco dessa atualização, porque a gente enfrentou ela num julgamento no maior estilo Ace Attorney possível, e isso foi muito da hora. De você juntar as pistas, depois juntar tudo, um pensamento lógico, aí pá, refutar o ponto da doida ali. E é isso, né, cara? Eu acho que eu não tenho palavras suficientes para dizer que isso foi muito bom. E vocês vão ver que o segundo ato vai ter uma pegada parecida, mas que ainda assim vai... Eu senti que ainda vai ser melhor um pouquinho, mas... Acho que o engraçado mesmo foi tipo, o viajante ficou com o pé atrás com o Linnei e a Lynette, porque eles são fatuos de terem enganado a gente, não sei o que, mas a gente conversa numa boa com o Child, né? Vai entender, eu, hein? Bom, e é isso, essa foi toda a conclusão do primeiro ato. Muito obrigado por ter assistido até agora. Deixa um like, se inscreva no canal que eu vou trazer o segundo ato também. E é isso, né? Vou ficando por aqui e até a próxima.